Every life has a starting point. We all begin at this one place, and we all call this place home. And although our lives start off very similarly, they usually end very different due to the different experiences and the different outcomes our lives have as a whole. As a child, we tend to follow our parents in our parents' footsteps and tend to take on their ideas, their mentalities, and everything that they believe as our own. But as we grow older, we realize that there are many different ways of viewing the world, whether it be through a political aspect or through disagreeing with the way that your parents think or what they feel or even their mentality. But in a Hispanic household, this is something that is very much frowned upon due to how, from the moment you are born, your life is basically decided for you. You grow up believing that family is the main priority in your life. You have to have a sense of responsibility instilled within you. You are limited to becoming independent, and you have to deal with the constant pressures of being socially accepted in America, all at the same time as you attempt to be in the good graces of your parents. So attempting to find yourself in a Hispanic household can be challenging due to how, in a Hispanic household, family is something that pretty much impacts your every motive. As noted in the article Hispanic Culture and Relational Cultural Theory within the Journal of Creativity and Mental Health, written by Professor Elizabeth Reese, there is a concept that can define this sense of loyalty to family, and it's known as familism. So in familism, you have to adopt a strong sense of loyalty and maintain a big bond with your family. So tying into this, one must provide support to their family and receive support from their family. It is considered an obligation within Hispanic households to do this, whether it be financially or emotionally. One also, as a young adult in a Hispanic household, must view all older or authority figures in their family as role models. And this can be expressed through behaviors and attitudes that young adults end up putting out in the world or within their family. According to the article Hispanic Families and Their Culture, Implications for FSC Educators, Journal of Family and Consumer Sciences, written by Barbara Allison and Angelina Bencomo, familism is seen as a positive concept within Hispanic households, due to how it allows for a collective and equal contribution from each family member, and it makes it easier for families when they face some type of bad thing going on in their households, and it's easier for them to come together as a collective unit and show support for one another. Another family factor that one has to assimilate to in a Hispanic household is the idea of structure and gender roles. So as mentioned in the article, Hispanic Culture and Relational Cultural Theory, within the Journal of Creativity and Mental Health by Professor Elizabeth Reese, she mentioned several different concepts that are divided amongst gender roles within Hispanic families, and I'm going to mention two of those concepts today. The first concept she mentioned is embrismo, which is pretty much similar to feminism due to how embrismo motivates women to pursue something other than what they have. So within Hispanic families, it becomes easy for individuals to assimilate to the idea that what they have is all they're going to get. But with this concept, Hispanic households tend to motivate women to do better, to pursue something other than what they have, and to search for other opportunities, which is something that isn't commonly seen in most Hispanic families. The second concept that I'm going to mention is the concept of machismo or chauvinism within Hispanic males. So males are given the responsibility of being household protectors through this concept, and it emphasizes a sense of strength and authority within them as an individual. However, there can be both a negative and positive aspect to machismo or chauvinism. So the negative aspect could be that when these male individuals get instilled with all this strength and all this sense of authority, it can go to their head and can make them believe that their version or their idea for the family is the best idea out there. Therefore, any type of other input from the family is kind of seen as not equal or negated, and women are seen as less than men when they develop this negative machismo. With the positive machismo, a family can come together as a collective unit and pretty much advance together in society and gain better access to resources in America. So another concept that I'm going to discuss is that although family can be draining and is very difficult to understand, especially in a Hispanic household, There are also many pressures that young Hispanic adults face within their lives, such as being socially accepted and balancing Hispanic culture at the same time. And this can lead to many stressful moments within their lives that isn't really good for an individual as a whole. So one of these concepts is adopting American and Hispanic culture at once. So it's kind of hard to balance the idea of American and Hispanic culture, or pretty much be consciously aware of both cultural backgrounds. So this can be expressed through a personal anecdote. In the news article, Young Adults Born in the USA, Carving Their Own Identity by Suzanne Gamboa. So Suzanne Gamboa goes ahead and interviews many young Hispanic adults and asks them about the challenges that they have faced as being a Hispanic individual in America and the challenges that their families have faced. And a story that stood out to me that kind of goes with the idea that it's difficult to juggle both American and Hispanic culture at once was the story of Berenice Garcia. So Berenice Garcia is a young 16-year-old girl who lives in New York that basically claims that it's difficult for her to assimilate to both cultures due to the different ideologies of both of her parents. So on her father's end, her father claims that she needs to be more American and assimilate to American culture due to how he doesn't want her to be socially unaccepted within the American society. But on her mother's end, her mother tends to believe that she needs to be rooted to her Hispanic culture, maintain it, whether it be through the language or through her own everyday customs, which makes it kind of difficult for her to juggle as a whole on her own. And an idea that is expressed within the article that many Hispanic individuals actually do live by is a quote that is mentioned in a very, very known Hispanic movie. And it's a bibliography movie of this Hispanic artist known as Selena Quintanilla. In the movie, her father says, Hispanics have to be twice as perfect as everybody else, which kind of ties into the idea that Berenice is going through, where she has to be twice as good, whether it be through American culture or Hispanic culture. Another difficulty or challenge that one can face is being reprimanded for not showing respect or sympathy towards an authority figure. So in the article Hispanic Culture and Relational Cultural Theory within the Journal of Creativity and Mental Health by Professor Elizabeth Reese, she claims that possessing sympathy is something that is seen as very respectful within Hispanic households, and possessing respect is something that is expected of all individuals within a Hispanic household, whether they be young or old, due to how it teaches especially young individuals that they have to respect their authority and have to be mindful of their language, and also instills a sense of responsibility within young adults. There are many crucial moments within an individual's life in a Hispanic household, especially when it comes to them wanting to be independent. So although Hispanic parents want the best for their children, sometimes it's not always plausible to see that due to how they have adopted a collectivistic culture within many Hispanic families. So as stated within the article Hispanic Culture and Relational Cultural Theory within the Journal of Creativity and Mental Health by Professor Elizabeth Reese, she mentions that a collectivistic culture encourages collaboration that benefits the family as a whole and kind of negates the idea that a sole individual should go out and pursue their own goals or achievements, which is why a lot of individuals tend to hold back when it comes to trying to become independent people in Hispanic households. And another crucial part of becoming independent is also very much reliant on education. So factors that limit education is money. Money is the main factor due to how it's a barrier that many Hispanic families face, due to how they can't afford tuition, and it allows for their children not to realize their full potential as an individual. So in the news article, Young Latinos Born in the USA, Carving Their Own Identity by Suzanne Gamboa, she explains that the impact that college tuition has on many families can bring a lot of stress to the Hispanic community, due to how, in her article, she goes through interviews with individuals, and they claim that there's a lot of struggles and challenges that many parents face, especially when it comes to the money side of paying for college tuition, and this limits many individuals on pursuing a degree. So due to how many individual Hispanic young adults struggle, it becomes clear that there are stakeholders within their own lives due to how they have to adapt to their cultural background. Hispanic young adults have to assimilate to ideas, deal with cultural pressures, prioritize family, and deal with social acceptability, and become independent all at once. And it takes a toll on many young adults themselves. So being able to express themselves and branch out is very much dependent on family, and it's kind of like a give or take situation due to how families kind of pretty much run the whole household. It's difficult for individuals to branch out and search for something new. And although being in this position is very much difficult, some do become independent and search for a brighter future. And while they do this, they still maintain a great bond with their family, maintain the communication, and are able to pursue something other than what their family thought was possible for them. And this allows for individuals to grow and prosper on their own.